Florian Wirtz is a Liverpool player, and so is Jeremie Frimpong, so is Giorgi Mamardashvili, and potentially so could Milos Kerkez. But what does that mean as Liverpool fans? How do we rate these signings compared to signings of the past and previous windows? Some are calling it the best window that we have ever had. I think it probably already is the best window that we have ever had in our Premier League history. But obviously, only time will tell. But I guess we can kind of give it some grades and we can kind of figure out what do we think about these signings? How do they fit into the overall scheme of this team? Are they good fits? Are they Liverpool caliber players? Majority of them are, and maybe above and beyond. But today I wanted to talk about how each of these new signings potentially fit into Liverpool's plans. I'm going to give them a rating on how good they are. And we're going to dive a little bit into maybe some surprising stats that you haven't thought of as Liverpool fans that could maybe give us a sneak peek as to what Arne Slot could potentially be doing with this team, with the acquisitions that are coming in, because they are very different than what we've seen over the past 9 years under Klopp, and even last season under Arne Slot, which we all know is only the first iteration of what potentially slot ball could look like. And I think it could get even more intense. It could get even more exciting. And I think actually it could potentially look like what slot ball is initially was intended to look like from the very beginning. We could be very honest. This team that he has is Klopp's team, and it's quickly becoming Arne Slot's team with just in the matter of months after winning this Premier League title. A lot of those guys that have become iconic in the Klopp era are not going to be mainstays, and they're going to be moved out of the out of the team in this transfer window. So it's very interesting with the likes of players like Harvey Elliott, Darwin Núñez, maybe even Luis Diaz. Gerald Kwanzaa's on his way out, which I predicted before. You guys said I was overreacting and crazy, but that's for another video. Things are changing around here under Arne Slot, and I want to talk about that a little bit. So the first signing of Arne Slot's era, well, not the first signing, but the first signing we want to talk about is Florian Wirtz, of course. I'm going to give Florian Wirtz an A plus in his rating. This is an A plus type of signing. It's a statement of intent. I'm glad we got this down to 100 million, and I think it'll be well worth it. I think it could potentially go up to an S tier type of signing for Liverpool down the road, but only time obviously is going to tell on whether that happens for Florian Wirtz in Liverpool. The only thing, and I think holding Florian back is going to be the fact that I don't think he'll ever be able to play and live up to his $100 million price tag if he isn't the best player in the Premier League or close to it. Um, do I think it's possible for Florian? Absolutely. He is a player that is out of this world and can potentially be a top five and maybe even a top three type of talent in the world with the way that his career is progressing. Guys, you got to understand, we're getting a two-time back-to-back Bundesliga Player of the Year at 21 and 22 years old. He's a special talent, and his numbers reflect some of the greats in all of football that have ever played in football. So I think he can do it, but there is going to be a lot of discourse on did we overpay for him? Is he worth the 100 million? And I think he's one of the few players that will show that he is worth the 100 million. But time will tell if that moves up from an A plus signing to an S signing. But Florian Wirtz is a red. Welcome to Liverpool, my friend. I think the biggest metric that sticks out to me the most when you're looking at Florian Wirtz is that he's created 2.1 chances per game, per 90, of course, more than any Leverkusen teammate, and it even outperformed Mohamed Salah himself, who we know was at his creative best in this past season. And his expected assist is top three in the world. So what does this mean? It could mean that the creation output and the creation onus is lifted off of Salah's shoulders, which I think everybody has been looking for and everybody has been wanting, because one of the biggest problems that I think that we had in Arne Slot, Hughes, and Edwards and the boys, they've decided to solve pretty quickly, is that Mohamed Salah was responsible for nearly 60%. I think it was actually more closer to 70, if I'm not mistaken, of Liverpool's goals last season. One player. That's not good. especially if you want a team to continue to develop and continue to grow and continue to be dominant. You can't rely on one single player typically at all, but especially one single player that is aging and could potentially be out of the side and maybe even retired within the next 3 to 4 years. So I think we solved that problem with Florian Wirtz, which is why I think this is an excellent signing. We've basically brought in our new talisman as our talisman is still here. Wonderful stuff. We could see a bump in Mo Salah's goal output. Whoever they put in front of Florian, I think he's probably going to play as a false nine. If we don't find a good alternative down the middle, which I think he's more than capable of playing, especially if we play in the style of manner that I think he's going to play, Florian, he could do a lot of damage, especially with these flying wingers that we signed. Our second signing, Jeremie Frimpong, our second signing from Leverkusen, of course, Jeremie Frimpong. What a signing. I think this one is an A. And I almost didn't give this one an A. I almost gave it a B plus, but then I thought of Milos Kerkez, who we'll talk about in a second, and why I think they complement each other actually really well. So some may not agree with this, some may not think that he's a right back, but off the bat, I think he's an outstanding addition to what Arne Slot is trying to do. And it's a different type of right back that I don't even think we really see that often in the Premier League, right? We don't see these flying, attacking right backs in the Premier League very often. I mean, even with Trent, he wasn't really that type of fullback for very long. He did have that phase where he would, overlap on Salah a lot, but then he found out that he had really great passing range and he stopped doing those things. So this is going to be the first time, especially for us, that we've had a flying right back really since Glenn Johnson, right? I mean, Nathaniel Klein was more of a defensive right back, but an actual offensive right back that can get a distance shot off and that carries the ball the way that Jeremie carries. This stat I thought was absolutely unbelievable from him, that he attempted 278 progressive carries, and in those he averaged 8.3 meters per carry, which puts him in elite ball carriers. Elite ball carriers. Just in general. We're not even talking about right backs. We're just talking about ball carriers in general. What's even more impressive is that 109 of his carries moved the ball 10 plus meters up the pitch, a figure only 12 Bundesliga players had surpassed last season. This is something that Trent hasn't done in seasons, where we have someone that can pick the ball up and take it and drive it downfield and cut through defenses pretty much at will the way that Jeremie Frimpong can. That should scare a lot of teams. Just hearing that stat, because I think one of the biggest problems that we had last season is not being able to carry the ball and retain the ball out of that back, the out of our own half sometimes when teams would pressure us like that. And I think Jeremie, he solves that problem. He is going to be the legs for Mo Salah as Mo Salah gets older. And I think it's such a smart move and pairs beautifully with the other fullback on the other side, Milos Kerkez, who I think is an A plus signing. I think he's an A plus signing. I think he is a perfect signing. He is one of the top three. He's a top three, maybe the best left back in the league. Let's be very honest. This is probably our most important signing, even more important than Verts. Why? Because we know Robbo is getting older and he's looking at options and potentially leaving the club. And left back was our weakness last year. It was one of our weak spots. And we have addressed that with one of the best left backs in the world that only wants to play for us. That is scary. That is scary. What's even scarier is that his stats actually mirror his counterpart on the other side of the pitch. Check this out. He's made more overlapping runs, 237, than any other player in the Premier League through 28 match days. He delivered 83 open play crosses, which is the fifth most in the league. This puts him in elite company when it comes to left back. We're talking about Nuno Mendes type of numbers. We're talking about some of the best. I mean, who else is up there? Balde, right? Who else is up there in terms of left backs in the world? I do think we have a top 5 left back in the world right now. And he's also a ridiculous ball carrier where he's got 144 long progressive carries. That's over 10 meters, by the way, averaging 3.9 per 90, ranking in the top 12 defenders in England's top flight. Insane from Kerkez. So now, if we can get a good picture of what Slot is looking for, a lot of our forwards are probably going to invert. That's what this is telling me. Our forwards are going to invert. They're going to be a lot tighter. They're almost going to be like forwards. So maybe, just maybe, we actually aren't going for a number 9, and Cody Gakpo and Mo Salah are going to play as almost a wide right forward and a wide left forward, with Wirtz right behind him in that pocket, being creative, playing passes into them, letting them be all types of clinical in that final third. And Kerkez and Frimpong are going to act as the legs on that wing, as they do at an elite level of being able to retain the ball, carry it long distances, put very high quality crosses into the box on both sides, right? While Wirtz is able to see the entire pitch and see those 4 ahead of him, almost like a front 5, and play passes into those channels for Mo Salah to latch onto and score a record amount of goals. Cody Gakpo on the same wavelength. Luis Diaz, who was absolutely outstanding towards the end of the season in that number 9 role. I know a lot of people didn't love that, but I think he played really well towards the end of the season and was absolutely on fire playing down the middle. It was almost down the middle, slightly to the left. Now, all we need is a player that can play passes into those lanes. We've seen that Dominic Szoboszlai has been thriving in that deeper number 8 role, where he's been able to survey the field, play long passes, lace them from long range into the path of his teammates. He's been doing that exceptionally well with Hungary. We may see him sit side by side with Alexis McAllister in that midfield, who we know both of them have unlimited energy. Both of them are fantastic on the ball. Both of them can take pop shots from long range, which Wirtz can lay off for them beautifully. Oh gosh, I'm getting excited. And then we have Ryan Gravenberch, who is fantastic on the ball himself and press proven in those deep areas where teams are probably going to try to press us very hard, especially with those wing backs bombing up and down the pitch. It looks like a good setup. The only thing that worries me the most is, do we need a DM that does have passing range, that is press proven, and can keep us ticking a little bit better than Ryan can? But let's be honest, there aren't very too many DMs in the world that are better than Ryan. The only thing that bothers me a little bit is that he keeps bringing up how he doesn't love that position and that he would rather play further up the pitch. So I guess the question is, what more do we need out of this window? Of course, the bonus, we got Giorgi Mamardashvili, who I'm going to give a C+. I'd say a lot of things have to go his way in order for this to make sense. I mean, Creaming Callagher, some would say maybe he's on the same level as Mamardashvili. In 2024, he was on a whole another stratosphere and was one of the best goalkeepers in the world. Now, not so much, right? His save rate went down to 60%, which is some of the lowest in La Liga right now. I think he'll be a work in progress, and it would make sense if Alisson was maybe 36 or 37. Alisson is still 33, and he has plenty of years left as a top level goalkeeper. Goalkeepers, they age beautifully. They don't need to retire very soon. Some of them can play into their 40s. And it seems like Alisson doesn't seem like he's going anywhere. He loves Liverpool. His family loves the city, and he has no plans in leaving. So it's very interesting, that signing. But potentially we need a tempo controlling 6. Maybe we need a number 9. I'm hearing some rumors about Nunez and Chiesa potentially going the other way, and Osimhen maybe coming this way. Maybe I'll do a video on the potential transfers and the rumors and what I think about them and some of the surprising stats. But let me know what you guys think. I needed to pop back on here and say hi to you guys. I know it's been about a week. I've been traveling like crazy, but we are back, and the videos are going to come hot and heavy. So I appreciate everybody for subscribing to the channel. Everybody on the Discord, love you guys. And we will see you on the next one. Peace. Boom.